and everything in his castle was gold. He kept adding treasure upon treasure upon treasure. "Look at all I have," he boasted. "I will bet everything that you have, that none of you can compete with me." And so he won his bets again and again and again, until many lost everything they had, even the clothes off their backs. But Sadko continued to bet, and he began to buy. "I will buy everything you have, all goods, good or bad, and you'll know who Sadko the rich is, Sadko the merchant, Sadko the wealthy." And so they brought him more goods, and Sadko bought more goods, filling his coffers and his closets, and on and on. But Sadko was beginning to lose all his money buying all these goods, and his heart had grown cold, and he had forgotten his friends, and worse yet, he had forsaken the one true love of his life, the faithful, dark-haired maiden. One day Sadko's joy began to fade, for he realized his friends were no longer near him and his true love was not at his side. His coffers began to shrink. And so foolishly, Sadko made yet another bet. "I will equip 30 ships." And so he equipped 30 beautiful ships and set sail to foreign countries to trade and thereby regain his disappearing fortune. And regain his fortune he did, and his ships laden with treasure were returning to Novgorod. But still the dark-haired maiden waited. On his way back, a terrible storm began to brew. The water churned and tossed the ships about. The ships were tossed about like toys on the water. As they twisted and turned in the churning waves, it was as if a giant hand had reached out, torn the ship, and anchored it to the spot. And yet the storm raged on around them. Sadko thought and thought, and feared that perhaps the king of the sea was angry. He must appease him. But how? He then threw a huge barrel of gold coins into the waters as tribute. Still the tempest raged on. "It is me the king of the sea wants." Sadko knew what he must do. And to save his ships and men, Sadko threw himself into the turbulent waters. Down, down he floated to the sandy loam in the underwater kingdom, right before the underwater king. "You have deceived me. You gave me a dulcimer that doesn't play music," the king screeched. "Take him away." Undaunted, Sadko answered, "The dulcimer doesn't play by itself. One must have clever hands to play it." And so Sadko began to play it again. At the first sounds, the king of the sea was delighted. And soon he began to dance with joy as the music played on. The king began moving in time to the music until he started dancing with joy. The other creatures of the sea joined him. And soon the dancing created such a disturbance that the waves began dashing the ships to pieces, sending their cargo to the bottom of the sea. All the treasures had now reached the king of the sea again. Exhausted from his frenzied dance, the king stopped his whirling. The music ended, and the waters were quiet. The king looked about him and saw what riches had come down to him and what excitement Sadko's music had created. The king summoned his princesses before him and offered Sadko a reward for the joy that Sadko had given him. All the riches of the sea and a life in his kingdom forever. You can marry a sea princess. Choose any bride your heart desires, he offered. But meanwhile, at the shore, Sadko's true love waited and waited. She dropped her floral wreath into its blue waters, and as it drifted down, it touched Sadko's shoulder. As if awakening from a dream, Sadko saw once again the face of his beloved dark-haired maiden. And he realized all too keenly what he had sacrificed. With one great effort, he forced himself to the surface. His beloved, seeing his struggles, threw herself into the sea. But together, with the power of their love, made it safely to shore. Now Sadko the dulcimer player is richer than ever. He has his old and true friends near him, his beautiful and faithful wife, and his dulcimer. And one day, healthy, happy children. Come, friends, share our joy. We can sing and play and dance for you. We have our friend Sadko and his dulcimer once again. Remember, all stories have an ending, and this is a happy ending that leads to a happy beginning. Only do what good begets, for goodness brings you no regrets.